In this video, I'm going to show you how a client of mine, an RIA in Virginia, actually used Advisor Claw to help one of his clients with one of the biggest decisions that he's making in the last 5-10 years. So let's dive in and I'll show you. Our client was gracious enough to allow us to use his box to show this case study. So this is his actual box. We did redact important names and company information and all that kind of thing. But the point still remains. And by the way, this was my advisor's very first session, very first thing that he did in Advisor Claw. So let me show you what that chat looked like and what the deliverable looked like as well. So here's the session transcript. This is essentially the chat back and forth that the advisor had with Advisor Claw. Opened up a new agent for research specifically, and the agent greeted him. Hey, I'm the Advisor Claw research agent, just came online. Before we dive in, tell me who you are. My advisor essentially says, I'm a financial advisor. I got some questions for a client of mine. Don't worry about that stuff. Let's get to work. All right, I'm ready. Let's hear it. So here's the initial prompt. He's got this client, really smart guy. I guess he's been out of work for the last 2 years, had some job offers that weren't good enough. Long story short, he gets a offer for this new startup that does something in the investment industry. So he wanted my advisor's opinion on that job. So my advisor says, hey, here's some information about that company. Here's the website. Here's a deck that we can, their pitch deck, if you will. Tell me who they are. Tell me how they're funded. Essentially, my advisor's just doing research here. Advisor Claw gets right to work, pulling SEC filings, pulling some other information, gives him all the information that he needs on the company. So here's the research summary that it kicked out. Name, founded, who the founder is, what his background was, how much of the company that he still owns, some other founders that came in and joined on a little bit later, a summary of what they do, how they're funded, and it's already providing some red flags here in this situation. Company carries a lot of high interest credit card debt and merchant cash advances. This is unusual for a company also in the middle of raising a seed round. So already some great information there. Continuing to give him more and more information on the company itself. And then even recommends, hey, your client's been asked to be an advisor at the company. Here's the context that matters for that conversation. Gives them a bullish case, gives them the cautionary flags, talks about, hey, at a company at this stage, an advisor role means probably just equity, not, any sort of cash in terms of the compensation. He's got to understand that. Looks like my advisor had a question. I'm still reading this, but real quick, what's 12% MAE mean? That must have been somewhere up above where they're describing. Answers the question, mean absolute error, measure of how far off the most predictions are from reality on average. This is a company using AI for investing, so that's where that's coming from. And then my advisor says, take all that information, essentially give me a bull case, bear case scenario for this. Done. I've saved it as ABC Company one pager in the workspace. That's the file that you have on your Advisor Claw. So he was able to pull this up right away. And then here's the short version of that document that I put together for you. Advisor says, this is fantastic. Thank you. Can you put this in a PDF and use my branding, not my branding, but my advisor's branding, right? You should have that in other folders. But before you begin this, let me know if you can do it. Ask any sort of clarifying questions that you need. This is great prompt hygiene by my advisor buddy here. This is exactly what you want to do. You want to do a little bit of planning before you actually go in and build something immediately. Advisor Claw found the branding. It's got everything I need. Here's what I can do. Here are the colors for your logo, all that kind of stuff. Build stages. This is essentially what I would do. Clarifying questions. This was interesting. The one pager I wrote is really blunt. Do you want this as a polished client deliverable, internal memo? What are you kind of looking for here? What do you want the header to look like? What should I do with the logo? Should I use their logo? Should I use your advisor logo? Asking about footers and any sort of disclaimer text that he would need, and then any other sections that he would want beyond just the bull, bear, and the bottom line. He could do it even offered to do a key facts sidebar. So it looks like the advisor answers here, keep it the same. I like the blank tone, essentially asking it, do both, right? Give me the regular version that I asked for, but also give me that version that you would mention where you can do the key facts sidebar. So Advisor Claw goes to work and puts it together. Both documents actually rendered perfectly, it seems, at least that's what it's saying here. You've got two PDFs. Here's what they look like. Here's where you can find them in your files within Advisor Claw. Advisor comes back, says, overall, they look good, but there's some edits we need to make. Some things were being cut off in the PDFs themselves. So it tells Advisor Claw that issue is very clear. Landscape slide is too tight. Let's switch it to a portrait mode, and I can fix those things. Looks like it might have slowed down and said error for a second. So my client says, error, are you okay? I'm good. It was just a single image analysis, timing out, not a workflow issue. Let me lay out the stages and then build version 1.1. So it goes ahead and it builds version 1.1, which I'm assuming is that first version that my client asked for, not the one with the key facts. Tells them where it's at. Here's exactly everything that you need. I'm ready to start version 2 whenever you're set. Great. I want you to do the exact same thing for version 2. And it looks like that first one came out just fine. Advisor Claw says both pages are perfect. Version 2 is done. Here's a summary of page 1 and page 2 of version 2. Looks like you needed 2 pages on version 2. Version 2 looks good, except there's a lot of white space on that first page. Increase the font size of the bullets to 12. Advisor Claw does this. And the advisor says version 2.2 looks great. Thank you. Here's where I'm at. I'm going to use both of these. I don't need anything else. Can we clean up the folder? Because there's a lot in there that we don't need. Let's come back to that cleanup. That's actually a pretty cool tool as well. But let me actually show you these PDFs. So obviously we took the names of the company off, but this was PDF number 1, the company assessment, the bull case, the bear case, and the bottom line. Technology story is genuinely interesting, but watch out because they're a startup and they've got some other things that they need to worry about there if they're going to make it. Here was version 2. This was the one with the extra key facts table. So you can see it's the same bull case and bear case bullet points here, but it's actually instead got a key facts and summary page here at the back. I don't know which one of these he actually used to send to his clients, but the point is it built both of these very quickly. Something that would normally take my client or my advisor like 3-4 hours of research to do, and then who knows how long to put it in a nice format like this. This thing was done in 20-30 minutes here. So let's go actually back to the session text where he's talking about deleting all these extra files that he doesn't need. So he essentially says, hey, I want you to remember this exercise, so don't delete anything that we'll need later, but I don't need an HTML version of this document or a PDF or a PNG, version of this document. What can we clean up? Here's the breakdown. You need to keep this stuff here. You can delete this stuff here. He says, I'm good with this project for now. Delete what we can delete. Bada bing, bada boom. He's all done. So once again, I know this is pretty quick and easy, but client has a question. What would normally take him 3-4 hours of research and prepping a document to send back, he did in 20-30 minutes with Advisor Claw, and it probably found a lot about this company, including debt, credit card debt, merchant bank loans, things like that he may have not even been able to find out himself. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk soon.